with a look at their offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, who is now off to the New Orleans Saints. He will be their head coach. This is the worst kept secret of Super Bowl week. That Kellen Moore would be going to New Orleans as the Saints' next head coach. That should be official shortly, if it's not official by the time that you're watching this. And so I think the first question would be what the Saints saw in Kellen Moore. And I think it's really apparent in what we've seen from Kellen Moore the last 3 years. He's a guy who played in the league and a guy who was groomed very early on in his time as a coach to be a head coach. That's the way Jerry Jones saw him in Dallas. And Jerry did with him in a lot of ways what he did with Jason Garrett 15, 16, 17 years ago, which is brought a guy on board and had him as a player and had led him into coaching meetings as a player and had led him into game planning meetings as a player and put him on staff with the idea that he would eventually be the team's head coach. Obviously, that didn't wind up working out there. Over time, they wind up firing Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy inherits Kellen Moore. And then over the few years they were together, they tried to meld their offensive systems. Some things worked, some things didn't. Then in 2023, he's off to the Chargers. He becomes Brandon Staley's offensive coordinator in Los Angeles. That doesn't work out because the whole staff gets fired after a year. And so that creates the opportunity for the Eagles to go and get him, which they do, and win a Super Bowl in their only year with Kellen Moore as their OC. So why does all of this stuff matter? Well, I think the varied experiences that Kellen Moore have are important here. He is the son of a coach. He always knew he was going to coach, but his path in coaching has not come on a straight line. That much is for sure. He has been now the young assistant trying to earn his way. He has been the guy anointed as the next one, and a guy who is seen as sort of the heir apparent in a franchise that's obviously one of the most recognizable in all of sports. He was in that pressure cooker. Then he goes to the Chargers. He has a chance to work with a different type of quarterback in Justin Herbert than Dak Prescott. That doesn't work out as everybody figured it would or hoped that it would. And then he goes to Philadelphia. And I think what's really interesting about his time in Philadelphia is that, again, he had to work with a different type of quarterback in Jalen Hurts. But he also had to work with a staff that he had largely inherited. He inherited Jeff Stoutland. He inherited Kevin Patullo. He inherited a bunch of guys on that side of the ball who had their idea on the way things should be run, who had their own systems that they had been a part of. And he was forced to do a lot of head coach type of things over the last year or so. Well, what does that mean? Well, when he first came in, again, he had to get everybody on board with the way that he wanted to do things. And so he had Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach there, present the run game to the group. He had Kevin Patullo, the pass game coordinator there, present the pass game to the group in the way that they had done things over the couple years previous. And then he presented his own system. And over about 6 months, they were able to put everything together in a way that was incorporating a lot of those things, but was not too complicated for the players. In fact, by the time they really started rolling offensively, what they were doing was fairly simple. But it's what worked for the players, it's what worked for the coaches. And being able to manage all of that, and being able to manage different egos, the guys in that huddle, Saquon Barkley coming in, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, the guys, on that offensive line, a lot of guys who've accomplished a lot of things as pros. That's head coach stuff, having to manage all of that. And so he winds up winning a Super Bowl. I think that ability to manage people is an important piece of why he's able to win a Super Bowl. So now he's going to move on and become the head coach of the Saints. A couple names I would watch for his Saints staff. Doug Nussmeier is somebody who was with him in Dallas, was with him with the Chargers, with him with the Eagles. I don't think he's going to raid Nick Sirianni's staff, but that could be one in particular that he brings with him, maybe as the coordinator, maybe in another role. I think for Doug, Nussmeier is a relative no-brainer. His son is the quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. So there's a family tie down there as well. And then on the defensive side of the ball, it wouldn't surprise me if Brandon Staley, who was Kellen Moore's boss there in Los Angeles, winds up becoming their defensive coordinator. I think that'd be a really good hire. Staley worked in San Francisco this year. He's only been a defensive coordinator once, but in that 1 year with the Los Angeles Rams in 2020, he fielded the NFL's #1 defense, which is why he became a head coach with the Chargers. So